The Commander Master decks are here, but are they here to stay or will they be easily forgotten? Let's evaluate them.
One of the first things that we need to have a look at when evaluating these 4 Commander decks for Commander Masters is the price tag, because they are more expensive than your regular Commander decks. The two lesser popular options are the Enchantment and the Planeswalker decks, and they are retailing for about $104 each. While the two more popular decks, which are the two creature types that are very popular and also sold out several times, that is the Eldrassi and the Sliver decks. They are both retailing for about $127 each. So let's have a closer look at that value.
If you visit the MTG Goldfish site, you can see the complete deck list for all the 4 decks, and you can also see the tabletop value. But do be careful when you assess the tabletop value, because it seems kind of high, because all cards have a listing price. For instance, a basic island is listed for $1.3, which is absolutely nuts, because they do not have such value. The first thing you need to do is to remove all the cards from the list for the price of $3 and below, because these cards normally do not have any value at all when assessing value in a deck. And if you do this, the Sliver deck comes down to having only the value of $300, and the Eldrassi deck comes down to having a value of only $247. But hey, that sounds great still, doesn't it? Because that is way above what you actually pay for the decks. But this price is again artificially inflated, because many of the cards having a big value in the decks are the new cards, and these cards, almost all of them, have a price tag of close to $29. But as soon as these cards are released, as soon as the decks are beginning to sell, and as soon as some of these commander cards are beginning to pop up in the collector boxes, because we see that the commander cards are actually being drawn in the collector packs. So when these cards are becoming more widespread, this value will begin to drop, and at that point you can really assess the true value of these decks.
But Magic the Gathering is not only about the monetary value. We are also interested in the gameplay. That is the most important part of a commander deck. Is it fun to play, and does it have all the cards that you need to make a really good deck? So let's check out the different decks.
The first deck we're going to look at is a deck that we had originally pre-ordered, but we ended up actually cancelling this order when we saw the entire deck list, because this deck might just be the worst in the bunch, and I am of course talking about the Sliver Swarm. What a Sliver deck needs is powerful slivers. And where are the powerful slivers? Well, you are getting the Sliver Hive Lord, and that is a great card. But that is about it. All the other slivers are plentifully out there. Of course, okay, you are getting the Gale Rider Sliver also, but of the rest of them, most of them are not the powerhouses that you actually need to make a great Sliver deck. You need the first Sliver, you need the Sliver Overlord. And where are they? They are missing. And at this price point, you should at least get one of these. You should have gotten either the first Sliver or the Sliver Overlord. They are around 20 euros each. So there would be plenty of room to have them in the deck and still not make it too expensive, especially considering what you're actually paying for this deck. And what is even more strange is that even some of the cheaper slivers, I'm talking about the Mana Web Sliver from M15, an uncommon sliver, is missing in this deck, and this deck really needs it, because what is not okay in this deck is the mana base. You're having a 5-colored deck and the mana base is absolute garbage. There's not a single great land within the whole mana base, and you're going to get mana problems if you try to play the slivers. And even manas that would be all included in a sliver deck, I'm talking about the Sliver Hive, also from M15, is also missing. So you're actually looking at a deck here where the creature base is subpar, the mana base is subpar, and well, all in all, that must make this deck subpar. So this would be a do not buy in our estimation. We're giving this deck 2 out of 5 Goblin Guides, because you would be better off just buying the singles and combining this deck on your own, and you could probably buy all the great slivers you want for the same price tag and make it even better. So probably your money is better spent that way. Oh, and speaking of slivers, don't be a forgetful sliver. Remember to like and subscribe to the Hive.
The next deck we're going to have a look at is the Planeswalker Party deck, and the party is actually in the creature base of this commander deck. There are some really cool cards that are a lot of fun and pretty powerful. I'm talking about cards like the Spark Double and also Mangara the Diplomat. These two cards are really good. In general, all the creatures are really good, albeit perhaps a little bit slow. That might need some fixing if you're building the deck yourself or improving it afterwards. The part that's a little bit ironic is the Planeswalker part, because there's actually pretty far between the really good Planeswalkers and the really strong Planeswalkers in this deck. You're going to get some of the really more common Planeswalkers, but these are not the most interesting, and you could probably improve that on your own. But one of the things that looks really strong is the new Planeswalker, Chandra, Legacy of Fire. She's really cool. However, she would be more well suited for a mono-red deck where she can truly employ all of her ability. With the chosen colors for this Planeswalker deck being red, white, and blue, we would actually have expected to see some of the most powerful Planeswalkers in these colors. I'm talking about Teferi, Gideon, and Jace. These would have been an auto-include if this deck was really going to be super powerful, but unfortunately they're not added in the deck as it is. Had Wizard chosen to include any or perhaps probably all of these three Planeswalkers, it would have stabilized the deck a bit more and we would have a bit more power and a bit more speed to this deck. However, there is a lot of good value. For instance, in the artifact base, you will find the Chain Veil, which is a pretty powerful card and works well with a lot of these cards in the deck. One of the things that's a lot better in this Planeswalker Party deck than some of the others, and especially the Sliver Deck, is the mana base. You will find both some Snarls from Strixhaven, but also some of the Temple mana bases, and these really cover you well, and it's a pretty good addition to this commander deck. All in all, this is a deck that could be a lot of fun to play, but it's not really a Planeswalker party, it's more a Planeswalker hangout after work kind of vibe in this deck. Perhaps you could add more value to it by yourself, but it might also be a good deck to buy, and especially if you got it at the more reasonable price it had when you started to be able to pre-order this deck. So, all in all, this is about 3 out of 5 Goblin Guides from us.
Next up is the Enduring Enchantment deck. This deck actually seems kind of good. It has a well-rounded creature base, there's a nice curve, there's also some mana fixings, there's a bunch of great lands, and there's a lot of card draw, especially from the green enchantments. So all in all, right out of the box, this might just be one of the best decks in the bunch. It seems fairly strong and it seems to be kind of good already as it is. But of course, I would have liked to see Wizards add some more shenanigans. I would like to have seen Grim Guardian, Heliod Suncrown, Dax's Blizzard of the Sun, and Erebos God of the Dead for a little life gain drain shenanigan. But then again, these cards are not that expensive, so you could probably just add them yourself in the deck. Also, Heliod Suncrown is also in the set in the Commander Masters, so you might just be lucky enough to pull him. One card I am missing though, and it seems really cheap that Wizards have not included this, is of course the Lightning Greaves. Because Lightning Greaves is actually in the Eldrassi deck, but not an enchantment deck. And playing enchantments, you need some protection, especially because you are so creature based as you are. And to have this deck work, you need to have protection. So Lightning Greaves should be an all-include, and I can't understand why this card is just not in the deck. All in all, the Enduring Enchantments seems like a good deck, it seems fun, it seems kind of strong, but being a 3-color deck, you could have some mana problems, but I think that the mana base is good enough as it is, but that of course remains to be seen. We're giving this deck 4 out of 5 Goblin Guides.
Last but most certainly not least, we do have the Eldrassi Commander deck for Commander Masters. This deck is clearly the best out of the 4 in our opinion, but there are still some issues with it. If you're playing Eldrassi, presumably you really want to play some big Eldrassi creatures, but only 9 out of 30 are actually Eldrassi creatures in the creature base, which was a little disappointing if you wanted to play all those really cool and fun Eldrassi cards. There are some really good Eldrassi creatures in this deck. For example, It That Betrays, but also Kozilek. But unfortunately, you will be looking in vain after a lot of the Ulamog's and also Void Winnower. And these would be cards that you would pretty much auto-include yourself if you were building an Eldrassi deck. So it's a bit disappointing to not find them in the deck itself. So for this deck, you have Ugin the Ineffable, right here as the Planeswalker. But unfortunately, we should have had Ugin, the Spirit Dragon, because it has a bit more power and a bit more value, and since this deck has the least value out of all the decks, it would have been cool to see them just go that extra mile and give you a little bit more spice and bang for your buck. The mana base, of course, won't be giving you any trouble in this colorless commander deck. So there's a lot of good cards. Overall, we really like it, but there's not a lot of value here. You do, however, get a pair of Lightning Greaves, and in the long run, the Darksteel Monolith might prove to be worth your investment if it goes up in price like we think it might do. All in all, this is a deck that is really good, and we would give it a solid 4 out of 5 Goblin Guides because it is a good deck, it has a lot of good creatures, and you might just be able to add the last bit of spice yourself.
That was the decks. What do you think about our take, and which deck is your favorite? Having these decks in a Commander Master set was a bit disappointing because I was expecting more power. I was expecting that they had rolled out the big artillery and was just, bringing it home. And I don't think any of these decks are actually doing that. And one of them is a big disappointment. I think the Eldrassi deck is the best of the bunch because it seems to be the easiest to play, and you're getting at least a few spicy Eldrassi creatures, and the Darksteel Monolith might just be a banger in the long run. But I also think that the Enchantment deck looks to be the most fun to actually play, and it seems to have most card draw and interactions. But let's get to the disappointing part.
Well, the disappointing part would probably be that all of us have been saying that the two most expensive decks, which were the Eldrassi and the Sliver decks already from the beginning of the pre-orders, are actually not the best, or at least the slivers are not. It seems like they have failed to include some of the really important slivers that makes your deck fun, fast, and aggressive, and also it seems like the mana base is not going to support a 5-color deck, not as it is anyways. You will probably be very slow and have some problems casting all of your slivers, so that is a bit of a disappointment. And especially the two lesser value deck, those with the lower cost, the Planeswalker Party and the Enchantment, it seems like they might actually be a lot of fun to play, and with a few additions might be a lot of fun to play and might also win you the game.
Yeah, but do remember that these decks come at a pretty big price point, and you might just be better off buying the singles, combining your own decks, and doing something great. A big thank you and shout out goes to our YouTube channel members. You're helping support the channel, and it means the world to us.
And if you're unsure about Commander Masters and you might reconsider buying it, maybe you should go check out a video about the next set, which is the Wilds of Eldraine. We have all about it in a video for you right up there. Thanks for watching.